Om
सदाशिव
Sadashiva Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru
Vande Guru
Paramparam
Parampara.
Om
Om
Sahana
Sahana
Bhavatu
Bhavatu,
Sahana
Sahana
Bhunaktu
Bhunaktu,
Saha
Saha
Viryam
Viryam
Karvavahai
Karavavahai,
Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Tejasvinavadhitamastu
Mavidvishavahai
Vidvishavahai.
Om
Om
Shanti
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 Shanti Shanti.
Shanti. Okay, so we are on the 23rd verse of the 9th chapter. So we'll chant that. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha
Shri
Bhagavanuvacha
Yepyanya Devata Bhaktaha
Ye
Ye
Panyade
Panyadevata Bhaktaha
Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha
Yajante
Yajante Shraddhayanvitaha
Tepi Mameva Kaunteya
Te Api
Tepi Mameva
Mame
Kaunteya
Yajantya Vidhi Purvakam
Yadante
Yajanti Vidhi Purvakam.
Okay, so I'll just mute y'all. Eh, Yeah, so hey Kaunteya, hey Arjuna, te api. So if you look at all those breakups, te api anya devataha bhaktaha. That you have to see. Te api is from second line, and ye api anya devata bhaktaha is from the first line. So hey Kaunteya, te api, even those people who those people who api anya devata bhaktaha yajante, who are devotees of anya devatas, other gods, not me, Ishvara. Me, the infinite Ishvara, they are not the devotees. They are anya devataha bhaktaha. They are devotees of other finite gods. And what do? Yajante shraddhaya anvitaha. They are worshipping them. Yajante, they worship these finite gods, but shraddhaya anvitaha, endowed with faith. What happens to them? Mam eva yajanti. They are worshipping me, Ishvara, alone. And how? Avidhi purvakam. Unknowingly, they are worshipping me alone. So a very nice way of saying that. Even when you worship any other Ishta Devata and you're worshipping them with faith, remember that you are worshipping me alone. Unknowingly, yes, but you are worshipping me alone. Okay, now you can have a doubt, right? Supposing anybody who worships any finite Devata is worshipping Ishvara only, if this is true, then my puja to the finite Devata is going to Ishvara only. And why does one worship Ishvara? One worships the infinite Ishvara for moksha, right? It's Nishkama worship. While if it is Sakama worship, if you are wanting specific fruits, then there are specific deities whom you worship. For example, you worship the Aditya Devata if you are wanting better eyesight, right? So, when a person is worshipping a finite Devata, he is worshipping for finite results. But here, Krishna, you are saying that those who worship the finite Devata also are ultimately worshipping the infinite Ishvara alone. The infinite Ishvara is capable of giving moksha. In that case, the question here is, even if I worship, let us say, Aditya Devata for improvement in my eyes, why is it, hey Ishvara, that you cannot give me moksha? So ultimately, you are saying that even when I worship Aditya Devata, I am worshipping you only. So this is the question. What is the answer?
It is not nishkama. You are wanting something in return.
Okay, granted. So, the fruit, the phalam of a puja is always connected or decided by the sankalpa. So, if I am worshipping a finite devata, a parichinna devata, finite devata, if I am worshipping, my sankalpa is what? Parichinna phalam. Let my eyes become better. Let me not have to go for surgery in the eyes. Therefore, I have not asked for moksha. How can Ishvara give you what you have not asked for? The phalam is always connected to the sankalpa. It doesn't matter if you are worshipping the finite devata or Ishvara directly. In either case, Krishna is saying that even if you worship Parichna devata, ultimately you are worshipping me only, the infinite devata. But how can I give you some phalam which you have not asked for? Because for the phalam to be given, the sankalpa is the deciding factor. So he says, Ye api anya devataha bhaktaha, those who are worshipping other finite gods, and shraddhaya anvitaha, they worship with faith, then he says, Tepi mameva kaunteya yajante. Te api kaunteya mam eva yajante. They are indeed worshipping me alone. These sakama bhaktas are worshipping me alone. Avidhi purvakam, they are ignorant of the fact that all devatas are included in me. That I am the source. I am the power behind all the devatas. They think each devata is different, but really it is I am the one which is present in all the devatas. And how is this ajnanam to be understood? Because the fact that they are sakama bhaktas itself reveals the fact that they are ignorant of the value of nishkama bhakti. This is what Krishna says. And then he goes further to talk on the subject. So we will read the 24th verse. So please unmute yourself. Aham hi sarva yajnanam
Aham hi sarvayajnanam
bhokta cha prabhureva cha
bhokta cha prabhurev cha
natu mam jananti
natu
Natu
mam
mamabhijananti
natu mam
natu
Natu
mam abhijananti
mamabhijananti
tatvenatyaschavanti te.
tatvedena
Tatvenatyaschavanti te.
Okay. So he says, Aham eva hi. I alone am. Who? Bhokta Prabhu. I am the Bhokta. I am the enjoyer of the fruits of all the yajnas. So Sarva Yajnanam Bhoktaha. Aham eva. I alone am the one who enjoys the fruits of all the yajnas. Or rather, you can say, I am the recipient of the offerings of all the yajnas. And I am the Lord also. Prabhu Revacha. Prabhu Evacha. Sarva Yajnanam Prabhu Aham Asi. I am the Lord of all the yajnas also. And this is how you should know me, that I am Sarva Yajnanam Bhokta Cha Prabhu. However, you don't know me in that manner, na abhijananti mam, they do not really know me like this. And therefore, tatvena, they don't know me in reality. They don't know my real nature as what? As the Prabhu and the Bhokta of all the yajnas. Therefore, ataha te chyavanti. Chyavanti means they fall down or they fall away. and therefore they fall away. So, aham sarva yajnanam bhoktaha, which means that I am the receiver of all forms of worship. Now, sarva yajnanam means what? Any yajna done to anybody other than me also, right? And here Shankara makes it clear by saying whatever the yajna is, whether it is prescribed by Shruti or Smriti or Puranas, because all these texts, they will prescribe yajnas to different devatas. And therefore by saying Shrautanam, Smartanam, Sarvesham, whatever the yajna is, if it is prescribed by Shruti or Smriti or any other text, Puranas, etc., in other words, to whichever devata the puja is done, he says what? I am the essence of all the devatas. And therefore, I am the bhokta itself. I am the receiver of all the offerings given to any devata. And also, Prabhu Aham. What is Prabhu here mean? Prabhu means the Lord. I am the karma phala data. Therefore, I have the powers to fulfill the desire of the bhakta, which he has expressed how? Through the sankalpa. So he may have worshipped Ganesha, or he may have worshipped Ma Kali, he may have worshipped Lord Vishnu, but he has given a particular sankalpa, and I am the powers, I Ishvara, am Prabhu, Yajnanam Prabhu, I am the person who has the power to fulfill any desire, right? So Krishna essentially is saying that whenever any devata, or whenever you perceive that you have worshipped some finite devata and your desires have been fulfilled, you should remember that fulfillment of desire only I have done. That there is no delegation of power to finite devatas to fulfill the desire. That is why he said that whatever puja you do to whichever devata, you are doing to me alone. So he's saying that all the offerings come to me, sarva yajnanam bhokta. All the offerings come to me, and it is I alone who am giving you the phalam of your puja. So even if you have prayed to Aditya Devata for something, when you get the phalam, it is given by me alone, because your offering to Aditya Devata has also come to me, right? So all the powers to finite devatas, whatever they have, however they appear, ultimately they are my powers alone. I alone am the bhokta, and therefore I alone give the karma phalam. And Shankara reminds us here of the 8th chapter, Adiyagno Hamevatraha. I alone am present in all the yajnas also. That means I am the person who receives the offerings. I am the person who gives the blessings also. And even though this has been said times without number in the Bhagavad Gita, in all the Upanishads, everywhere in the Vedas, what happens? Natu mam abhijanantaha tatvena. They do not understand my true nature in this manner. True nature is what? Bhoktaha prabhuhu of all the yajnas. They have not understood my real nature, right? So what is that? We should remember chapter 7. There are two natures, para, apara. Apara is the lower nature, the temporary nature. It comes and goes. What is para prakriti? Formless, attributeless, satchit ananda swarupam. And therefore, in your worship, if you ask only for finite material things, what is the what you call understanding that if I go to a king and I ask for only 10 rupees, what is the problem? I have not understood that the king is able to give me 100 rupees also, right? And therefore, if you go to the finite devata and ask only for material things, you have not understood, says Krishna, that ultimately that blessing comes from me, and I am capable of giving you the highest blessing, which is moksha. And therefore, te chvanti, you lose the fruits, maximum fruits available. You lose the highest result available. You lose moksha. Why? Because you have not asked for it. You fall into samsara not because I am not capable of freeing you from it, because you have not asked for it. You have got only very limited material results. You have not asked for chitta shuddhi, which is important for moksha. Okay. Now we look at the 25th verse. So let us chant. Yanti devavrata devan
Yanti
devavrata
devavrata
devan
pitran yanti pitravrataha
Pitran yanti
pitravrataha
pitravrataha
bhutani yanti bhutejyaha
bhutani yanti
Tejyaha
bhutejyaha
yanti madhyajanopi mam.
Yanti
yanti
madhyajinopi mam.
Okay. So, Deva Vrataha, those who worship the gods, Devan Yanti, is expanding on his idea of the previous sloka. So he says, those who worship the gods, Devan Yanti, they reach the gods. Pitrivrataha, those who worship their ancestors, Pitrun Yanti, they reach their ancestors. Bhutejyaha. So here Bhuta is in the meaning of celestial beings. They are not devas, right? They are not devas, they are not pitras. So they are in between the humans and the devas. They are higher than humans in spiritual evolvement, but they are lower than the devas. So bhutejyaha, worshippers of the bhutas, bhutani yanti, they reach these bhutas. And the crux is the last line. Madhyajinaha, those who worship me, yanti mam, they reach me alone. So 4 statements. The worshippers of devatas reach the devatas. Worshippers of pitrus, ancestors, reach the pitrus. Worshippers of bhutas, reach the bhutas. Worshippers of me, my worshippers, reach me alone. Okay. Now here again I can ask a question. You are saying that I have never asked for moksha, that is why I am not giving me moksha, O Lord. But supposing my upbringing has been such that I don't know what moksha is, that I don't know that moksha is the highest goal possible, then even if I ask for something else, you are supposed to be the Lord who, gives me, who is wanting the best for everybody, right? Why can't you give me the best moksha, even though I have not asked for it? So Shastra says, in answer to this question, which is a very fair question, right? If the Lord is all loving and all forgiving and all that, why can't He give me the best for me, which is moksha, even though I have not asked for it? It's a fair question. So Shastra says that in the birth as a human being, Ishvara has given us swecha, free will. That means I can choose my goal. And that choice is absolute. Ishvara does not interfere with your choice. Right? If you say, I want money, Ishvara will not tell you, no, don't take money. It's not a good thing to do. Take moksha instead. So your choice is your own and arising out of your own free will. And if you refuse to use your choice appropriately, Shastra says it indirectly means that the privilege which I have given you, the privilege of a human birth which I have given you, you are choosing not to utilize that privilege. So Ishvara's idea is, Ishvara's words, in fact, they are, I can assist you to get moksha, but that choice you have to make. I will not choose for you. So a very, very important thing for us as Vedantics to remember, unless I choose moksha, I will not get moksha. Right? And therefore he gives this meaning over here. Deva vrata devan yanti. Right? So the one who worships the Anya Devatas will get what they have asked for. Devan yanti means reaching the Devas, which has to be interpreted as getting what you have asked for in your Sankalpa. So Devavrata, Devan yanti means yanti, reaching, has to be understood as getting the results of your Sankalpa. Right? And what does Devavrata mean? So Shankara in his commentary says Vratam. Vrata means regular and disciplined puja with faith. So Deveshu Vratam Niyamaha Bhaktischa. Deveshu Vratam Niyamo Bhaktischa, says Shankaracharya, which means Vratam means regular disciplined puja of the Devatas with the appropriate faith, with the appropriate bhakti. And therefore, Sakama Bhaktas who do puja regularly and with bhakti, asking for a particular phalam, Deva Nyanti, they will get the phalam in this current janma, or later on in the next janma, they will join the Devatas in the higher lokas. They will become one of the celestials. So that is one group of Sakama Bhaktas who Devan Yanti, those who worship the Devas and get fruits according to the Sankalpa. The second one is Pitrivrataha Pitrun Yanti, worshippers of ancestors. They reach Pitraloka and get all the benefits. Remember that behind all these words, these statements in the slokas, there is one very basic Vedantic law. Yatha yatha upasate tatheva bhavati. Whatever you worship, in whichever manner you worship, you will become that only. Right? So that is, from that law, he is saying this. If you worship Devatas, you will get those fruits. If you worship Pitrus, you will get those fruits. And Bhutejyaha, if you worship Bhutas, you will get those fruits. So Bhutajyaha has, the Bhutas are, if I remember correctly, there are a few words, Bhutaha, Bhuta, Preta, Pisacha, Yaksha, etc. Right? You will find all these in the Puranas. Bhut, Pret, Pisach, Yakshaha. Very many celestial beings, some of them are tamasic deities. So tamasic deities are generally called bhutas. Interestingly, in Shankara's listing out this, Shankara writes at the top of the list of bhutas, he writes bhutas means bhutaganas, which means bhuta, preta, pisacha, etc. But on top of the list, whom does he name? Can you guess?
Ganapati and Matru,
Yes,
all the other gods.
he does. On top of the list, he names Vinayaka, Ganapati. The answer is very simple. Why does he name? Not because Vinayaka is a tamasic deity, but because Vinayaka is known as what?
Vignaharta.
Vigna.
Bhutagana Patihi, Lord of the
Ah,
Bhutas.
Ganapati.
Right?
Oh.
So you also have Matraganas and all that. Okay, as he said, Matraganas are also there. Those worshipped by Shakti worshippers, Sri Vidya worshippers. Then there are deities called Chaturbhaginis, just said to be Saraswati forms. Anyway, we don't need to get into all that. So ideally, in short, what is being said is that worshippers of Rajasic deities attain Rajasic goals. Worshippers of Tamasic deities attain Tamasic goals. And therefore, these first three quarters, they are referring to Sakama Bhaktas. And the last quarter of this verse, Yanti Madhyajinopi Mam, that refers to a special group. Those who worship me will come to me alone. And Shankara gives a very, very interesting comment. I will read out the Sanskrit to you and then explain. Okay, it's a nice comment, worthwhile remembering. Samane api ayase mam eva na bhajante ajnanat tena te alpa phala bhajaha bhavanti. What does it mean? Samane api ayase. Ayas means the effort. Samane api ayase, even though the effort is the same, effort in what? Whether you worship me, Ishvara, infinite Ishvara, or whether you worship any finite Devata, Anya Devataha, Samane api ayase. The effort is samanam. Effort is the same. And even though effort is the same, Mam na bhajante ajnanat. They don't choose to worship the higher me, expending the same effort. Why? Ajnanat. Because of ignorance. And therefore, tena te alpa phala bhaja bhavanti. They become the enjoyer of alpa phalam, of limited results. Very beautiful way of saying that. You are worshipping anyway, right? You're getting up at 4:30 in the morning. You are having a bath. You are putting your all the what you call chandanam, everything you're putting. You're sitting, lighting a fire, and you're worshipping. But instead of worshipping the finite devata, why don't you worship me? Answer is very simple. You don't worship me because you don't appreciate, you don't know that I am capable of giving you moksha, and therefore you ask for finite results. That is a tragedy. You get finite results only, right? Okay, now when I last did the Geeta, somebody asked in the last course, I think it was, or maybe in TTC, I don't remember where. Somebody asked a question here. You are saying that I should worship Ishvara, not a finite devata. But my Ishta devata is Ganapati or Saraswati or Lord Shiva or Lord Rama. So the question was, do I need to drop this and start worshipping Ishvara or Virat Ishvara? Do I need to drop my Ishta devata and start worshipping Vishnu or Purna Ishvara? What is the answer?
To look that Ishtadevata as the infinite, to expand that.
Correct. So the answer is no. You don't have to change anything. Your Ishtadevata can remain Ishtadevata. All you have to do is when you are doing the worship. See, whenever you do a worship, remember there is a invocation first, right? The avahanam. You have to invoke the Ishvara on the deity. That invocation is of Purna Ishvara, is of the infinite Ishvara. Whoever is your Ishtadevata doesn't matter. Whether it is Ganesha, whether it is Lord Shiva, whether it is Devi, whether it is, Aditya Devata, whoever it is, when you sit down to worship, the invocation should be, I am invoking Purna Ishvara on my form. On the alambanam which you have before you, which represents your Ishtadevata, you invoke Purna Ishvara. And therefore, Sankalpa should be, Hey Ishvara, I am worshipping you as Sthiti, Srishti, Laya Karana Ishvara, Purna Ishvara. And this Sankalpa alone will decide whether your Ishta Devata is Anya Devata or Purna Ishvara. Right? You don't have to change your offering. If you are putting, one laddu in front of the Ishta Devata, when you ask for finite phalam, You don't have to put 2 laddus when you ask for moksha. All you have to do is change the sankalpa itself. And therefore, this samane api ayase, very 3 very important words, important idea given by Shankaracharya, that the effort is the same. Don't waste your time asking for finite things. Shankara is not saying drop Ishtadevata. Shankara is saying remember the difference between Sakama Bhakti and Nishkam Bhakti. Sakama Bhakti is always Devata specific. Nishkama Bhakti is not. You can take any deity, you can invoke Purnavishara. Sakama Bhakti is puja specific. And when you do puja specific Sakama Bhakti, all Karmakanda Vidhi needs to be followed. There are so many rules. How you should sit, where you should face, what is the composition of the Homakunda, what are the bricks, how many bricks, how they have to be arranged. All these are there. All those Karmakanda Vidhi needs to be followed when it is Sakama Bhakti. And if you violate even one rule unknowingly, your phalam may not be there. In Nishkama Bhakti, such rules are not there. Thirdly, in Sakama Bhakti, you may or you may not get the results you desire. Because a lot depends upon what kind of life you have lived. Nishkama Bhakti gives you only positive results, only Chitta Shuddhi. And lastly, Sakama Bhakti gives you finite results. Nishkama Bhakti gives you infinite results. Okay, now we look at the 26th verse. Please unmute yourself. Patram pushpam phalam toyam
Patram pushpam phalam toyam
yo me bhaktya prayachati
Yo me bhakta
bhaktya prayachati
tadaham bhaktupaharatam
Tadaham bhakyapahratam
ashnami prayatatmanaha.
ashnami prayatatmanaha.
So, bhaktya yaha me prayachati. Bhaktya, with devotion, yaha, that person who is offering prayachati me, whatever he offers to me. And what is that? It can be patram, leaf. It can be pushpam, flower. It can be phalam, fruit. It can be toyam, water. So bhaktya yaha prayachati me. Yaha means whatever is being defined by patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam. Whatever you give me. But what is the condition? Tad bhakti upaharatam. That which is offered to me with bhakti, with devotion. By whom? Prayatatmanaha. By the person whose manaha is pure. So atmanaha here is referring to the mind. So, Prayatatmanaha, the one who has got a pure mind. If he is offering me with devotion, whatever he offers me, patram, pushpam, phalam, toyam, aham ashnami. I will receive, I will accept. Okay. So, as I said, scripture, Shastra talks about Sakama Bhakti as well as Nishkama Bhakti. For example, we have one ritual which is regular, Sandhya Vandanam. It is pure Nishkama ritual, meant for Chitta Shuddhi and then Guru Praptihi, Jnana Praptihi, etc. While you have other things like, say, Putra Kameshtu Yajna is meant for having children. So very much Sakama. So Shastra talks about both Sakama as well as Nishkama. And as I have said many times, for Sakama rituals, the Purva Veda, Karma Kanda, prescribes very detailed set of rules and regulations. So, in fact, Tithi and all these things you see, the nakshatras, Tithi, all these things basically arose out of this idea that for a particular ritual, there are a number of rules to be followed, including place, time, number of bricks, where the bricks have to be, where the mud for the bricks, how they have to be got, the number of pujaris, the arrangement of the bricks, arrangement of the homakund, all this huge number of rules are there. So there, and of course, there's one more very important rule that Sakama Puja gives you good results only when in your life, if your life you have been doing Nitya Naimitika Karma regularly. If your Nitya Naimitika Karma has not been done, even if your Sakama Puja has been done following all the rituals, all the regulations, you may or may not get the benefit, right? So if these are not followed, result will definitely not come. If these are followed, results may or may not come. And one more rule is that the bigger the Sakama benefit, the material benefit, the bigger it is. If a higher benefit that you seek, the more complicated the ritual is. Right. So the ritual's complexity is often related to the degree of material benefit that you're asking for. But in the case of Nishkama Bhakti, what happens? Even though the result is the highest, higher than any material benefit from any Sakama Puja, rules are not there. There are no complications. Mistakes will not adversely affect you, right? Of course, you are not supposed to deliberately make mistakes, different matter. But supposing I'm chanting Vishnu Sahasranama for Chitta Shuddhi, right? My Sanskrit is not very good and I make lots of mistakes. Providing that my chanting Sankalpa was Nishkama for Chitta Shuddhi, Shastra says any number of mistakes you have made, they will not affect you, providing your Sankalpa is moksha. And that's why Krishna says here, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Prayachati. You can offer me anything. There is no restriction at all. So, why does he say this? Pushpam. Because in Karma Kanda, you will find that for a particular Devata, Karma Kanda tells you what flower is to be offered. You can't offer a flower to anybody. Like any flower you cannot offer to any Devata. That flower which is specified by the Shastra has to be offered. And therefore here, Krishna is talking about Sakama Bhakti, Nishkama Bhakti. So he says Patram Pushpam. He's saying that, he's indicating that those rules of Sakama Bhakti are not applicable because this Bhakti is Nishkama. And Shankara makes an interesting grammar point, over here. I'll just tell it to you. Patram, Pushpam, Phalam and Toyam. These are all Ekavachanam, singular in number, indicating that even one leaf or one flower is sufficient, or one fruit is sufficient, or one drop of water is sufficient. Very nice point. For Nishkama Bhakti, you don't have to spend too much money, Okay. Then, but what is important? Bhaktya Prayachati. Nishkama Bhaktya Prayachati. Offers it with Nishkama Bhakti. And may. So may here means I, the Purna Ishvara. The invocation when you sit down for puja should be for Purna Ishvara. And the Sankalpa you take should be for the benefit of the Loka. The moment you say, let everybody be happy, Sarve Bhavantu, when you say that, then it becomes Nishkama. But if you seek that same happiness or wealth or health for yourself only or your family only, it becomes Sakama Bhakti. right? So Karma Yoga, remember what is Karma Yoga? When karma is performed with Ishvara as the center, with the recognition of Ishvara as Karma Phaladata, it becomes Karma Yoga. Which means what? The recognition of Ishvara as Karma Phaladata is what? Bhakti. And therefore, Karma Yoga definition is given here. Karma plus Bhakti is Karma Yoga. So, Tad Bhakti Uparatam. That karma which is done with Bhakti, that becomes Karma Yoga. Then Prayatatmanaha. So, Shankara gives it as Shuddha Buddhi. With purified mind. What does purified mind mean? Such a person does not have Raga Dvesha. He has no desire for finite goals. So, as I said earlier, remember that Atmanaha here means Buddhi. Therefore, Prayataha Shuddhaha Atmanaha Buddhihi Prayatatmanaha Shuddha Buddhi. A purified mind. And what is the manifestation of Shuddha Buddhi? The Nishkama attitude. And if you have that, then Krishna says, Aham Ashnami. Ashnami really means eat. I eat. But Shankara comments here that Ashnami should be understood as Grannami. I receive. So whatever you offer me, I receive. Whatever, when I receive from you, I have to give you something. And therefore, Ishvara Anugraha, the grace of the Lord, the blessing of the Lord, it becomes available when? The moment Aham Ashnami. The moment the Lord accepts your offering, the blessing is available. There is no gap at all. Right? And while on this subject, we're talking about prayer, right? So remember that prayer is the highest act of free will. Highest act of free will means what? That prayer can come through your will alone. Imagine, can anybody force you to pray? People can force you to do a lot of things, right? But nobody can force you to pray. And therefore, prayer is supposed to be one of the highest acts of free will. Of course, it takes, especially for people like us who have been, exposed to the world, and all cynicism is there and pain is there, so much evil we see. It takes a real effort to pray with an open heart. The moment you start to pray, you will find that all the cynicism that you have, it'll surface. You will find that all the doubts that you have, it'll surface. And therefore, 100% prayer, which is what he is saying, Bhakti Uparata. The total bhakti, that prayer is not possible immediately. You have to make regular attempts at such prayer. That regular prayer itself will dissolve the cynicism in my heart. The cynic in my heart will die because of the regular prayer. The pain in my heart will die because of the regular prayer. Once pain and cynicism has gone, then I will find that when I pray, I can pray with a complete and whole heart. And this is what he's referring to. This prayer, this act of bhakti is important. Why is it important? Because when I pray, remember, I am accepting that I have limitations. And I'm accepting that Ishvara is limitless. Therefore, the finite praying to the infinite with a total heart, this is the act of surrender. Right? You must have also heard that the jnani, he does not pray. Why?
He is the Lord himself, but he would do it for Loka Sangraha or for as a role model, but he has understood that he is the Lord himself.
This is a very, dicey subject, because when I say I
Yes.
am the Lord, I cannot be saying that I am doing this.
Yes. But we know that he does it as a role model
The
for,
Lord is not a role model for you at all. It's always the Jiva as a role model. Any prayer,
right.
remember, is Jivatma to Paramatma.
Yes.
And therefore, see, I told you, the act of prayer, complete prayer with full heart, open heart, it requires accepting that I am limited as a Jivatma. Right? You are not a Jnani at this stage. Accepting that I am a Jivatma, I am limited, and accepting that Paramatma is limitless. This is the act of surrender. But when you understand that you are Paramatma, you also understand that this body-mind complex of yours, which is being fueled by consciousness principle, is Jivatma. That surrender, that act of surrender becomes permanent. It becomes a attitude. So there is no need to pray once the surrender is permanent. Prayer is bringing that surrender into existence when you are praying. Because as a normal jiva going through my life, I forget this limited, unlimited equation all the time. And my prayer is important for me to bring this to the forefront, that I am limited and Ishvara is unlimited. But once you are a jnani, the bhakti is permanent, the surrender is permanent. Then there is what is permanent. There is no need to evoke. Therefore, there is no need for prayer for a jnani, because he is in a state of permanent surrender. Okay. Any questions? All very, very important verses.
Acharya, I didn't understand how Jnani is in permanent surrendered state, because if he knows that he is the Atma and he is the Paramatma, then who is he surrendering to?
Is jnani jivatma or not?
Yes.
So is he Paramatma or not?
Yes, he is both.
Is jivatma finite or infinite?
Infinite.
No. Paramatma
Okay.
is finite. Paramatma is finite.
Finite. Jivatma is finite.
Jivatma means your what you call
Body.
abilities are limited by your upadhi.
Got that.
At the Vyavaharika stage, remember, there is no equation between you and Paramatma. You are finite, Paramatma is infinite. It is only at the Paramarthika level that you can say, I am Lord. At the Vyavaharika level, if you say, I am Lord, then you are Hiranyakashyap, who says everybody should worship me.
Got that. Thank you.
Therefore, at the knowing that my body, mind, sense complex, remember, a jnani also prays, okay, but he prays in gratitude. When the jnani prays, he prays thanking the Lord for freeing him from samsara. That is a surrender. That without the Lord, I, the Jivatma, would have had another birth.
Acharya ji,
Haji.
I wanted to know something more about Svecha. Do all of us have the same degree of Svecha, and what determines the variations? And so, because one person would go ahead with this, the other would not.
See, to put this on a broader level, okay, since you asked the question, we put it on a broader level. Does the Jiva have Svecha?
Yes.
how if the jiva has svecha, supposing in my last birth I was a donkey, I was the same jiva, right? That same jiva who was a donkey in the last birth is Ravi in this birth. How come I didn't have svecha at the last birth?
No, every jiva must be having switcha, and it's only in the human birth that you can exercise the free will. And
Very good. The svecha, the conditions for the exercise of svecha, free will, exist only in the human birth. But the jiva has svecha, right? And since the jiva has svecha, everybody has the same level. But it is the prarabdha karma which decides what kind of intellect you have, what kind of vasanas you have, how strong your svecha can be. It is your prarabdha karma which decides.
yes, so it's our own karma again which determine our switcha as well.
Yes. Have you got the free will to be able to do things which you don't want to do and which are, actually very beneficial to you if you don't want to do it, but you don't want to do it because it is ethically incorrect? That's svecha exercise. Not everybody can do. The difference between two people doing this, that is determined by the vasanas.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, I think that's been a lot of material today. Any questions?
So, Acharya, some time ago we spoke about the Jnani and in chapter 7 and the Lord being the same, and we also spoke why we pray. After all, prayer is triangular format, but Jnani would pray for Loka Sangraha or this thing. So then how do we reconcile that to this, where we say that the Jnani's bhakti is permanent and he is surrendered totally? How do I reconcile? I'm not getting that.
Because you don't do it for yourself anymore.
Okay.
See, you have to exercise.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina.
Sarve bhavantu sukhina. You have to say, basically, when you say Jnani has free will, Jnani has free will, okay. But how is the Jnani's free will different from my free will? My free will can be exercised for anything,
Right.
including evil. Jnani's free will is aligned with the free will of Easwara. So whatever Easwara does is done for the good of the universe. And therefore, Jnani's free will is utilized for Loka Sangram only.
Right. Got it, Acharya.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll stop with this today. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience. Om Om.
Thank you.